Leadership power significantly structures social spaces and systems intelligence. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. This is Bill Thomas, your host and presenter for today's episode. Uh, and as we await the joining of this, because we're still a few seconds ahead of ourselves, um, I'm going to. I'm going to wait just those few extra seconds so that we can have those who plan on joining us live will be able to get themselves in and ready to go with it. So we have done that, and I want to welcome all those who are joining us live today. And I'm going to begin our slide presentation in one quick second here. Hello and welcome to this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. This is Bill Thomas, your host and presenter for today's episode. In the next 14 or so minutes, you will learn how leaders use structures and systems to influence and enhance social space with the goal of producing significantly effective outcomes. So here we go. In his first letter to the Christian believers in Corinth, the Apostle Paul provides some important insights into the Lord's process of building, enriching, and strengthening the Christian faith. Look at who and what the foundation is. Next, the architect and builder refers to core values and philosophical basis of that foundation, who is Jesus Christ, and his philosophy of love, God's grace, and God's salvation. Finally, the superintendent continues to build upon and edify that foundational structure using a system that was designed by God himself and which always produces the desired results. Please note that this process has produced and is still producing impressive growth for more than 2,000 years. Because of what Durkheim's axiom of social authority reflects, and as other social scientists like Greg Henriques in his Tree of Knowledge system prescribes, which is, what all leaders must keep in the front of their mind is this one very important fact. Society, for most people, is not an abstract term for a conceptual explanation to make sense of social behavior. Rather, society is almost real, a thing to be discovered, not socially constructed. For leaders, however, society must be constructed, it must be managed, and it has to be continuously developed with an eye towards improving that society by adapting it through processes of change or through shaping society's better nature and qualities. End quote. Let's agree to define social space as those areas or arenas where human beings operate in, operate through, or operate on. We can be located or locate ourselves at different points in any of those spatial features. For instance, some might say that they find themselves operating creatively or operating through their intellect or spiritual side. We could say that each of these environmental factors exert an influence or force on your physical, emotional, intellectual, social, creative, spiritual, or psychological sense of social space. Therefore, each factor creates a construct, an idea, or image of your location in that part or aspect of social space. Thus, a challenge factor could inspire or suppress your creativity, putting you into a state of flow or stopping you from writing another word or suggesting another thought in that group meeting. Leaders who wish to structure and organize the social space of their organizations need to deeply appreciate and employ Buckminster Fuller's definition of a viable structural system. You would want to remember that you are dealing with a complex, highly ordered, well self-organizing, not relying on external but its own intrinsic forces, adaptive, able to change or respond to conditions or circumstances system that is dynamic, highly active with, and making an impact on or affecting itself and its environments in all of its aspects. In Durkheim's axiom of social authority and Bucky Fuller's structural system definitions, we discovered how the realities of social authority are derived through any social interactions which involve the mutually beneficial enactments of the constructs or ideas that a particular society, social act, or social system embraces, along with that externally and or internally influenced actors and the moral or ethical constraints adopted by the system and those actors. So leaders can employ speech acts, use language cues, encourage interactions between various cultural or ethnic groups, promote and engage people through stretch assignments and more challenging projects, empower everyone to assume greater leadership roles in visioning, planning, managing, coordinating, or communicating tasks. As Dr. Ludovico describes, systems intelligence will be transformed only if and when an active component of the system begins to interact with other active components and the spatial elements which either surround or include a part of the system itself. In other words, when information flows during interactions between different people through any material commodity such as a computer, classroom, web-based property or platform, a phone, an office, or a cafe setting, or a piece of paper, etc., those interactions will produce or change into physical motions and changes in the spatial landscape, thus making management actions efficient and transforming your leadership ability into effective actions, that is, becoming able to achieve the desired or value added results. Successful leaders realize the value of communicating their vision, the meaning of work to customers and for employees, building trust and being trustworthy, and delegating their own power and authority to all employees. That those are the types of leadership actions which pay off and produce massively profitable transformations in the intellect and spirit of their organizational ecosystem. A salient feature of such a thought system is that all the inherent characteristic quantities, parameters, constants, indicators, etc., as defined by Dr. Ludovico's theory of evolving systems, so that those parameters, constants, indicators, etc., can be expressed in function of the recognized and quantified interactions only. This means also that once the system's specific interactions are quantified by appropriate methods and instruments, all of the significant analytical conclusions are also quantified and expressed independently of any other quantity that is extraneous to the system of the interactions described and represented. Simply put, if your system of philosophical, moral, social, and structural agency positions help you build empathy for your people or stakeholders, display commitment to your ideals, insights, or individuals, impacts meaning for your processes, policies, or products, and if your structural agency of signification inspires trust in your integrity, involvements, or intentions, your leadership power will be quantifiable and easily recognizable to everyone. If leaders wish to inspire, instruct, or inform the socially driven spatial or the physical, psychological, spiritual, creative, or social features throughout their ecosystem entities, they must discover ways to effectively recognize and deal with the various environmental factors of challenges, conflicts, changes, conundrums, and chaos which tend to disrupt, dissolve, or destabilize the cohesive forces of an organized enterprise. Using templates can empower leaders by helping them identify and handle any problem areas through taking proven purposeful actions. All people do act as activators in complex, self-organizing, dynamically adaptive systems. However, in most of today's organizational ecosystems, leaders are the primary activators. Therefore, as Dr. Ludovico explains, the generation of intentional interactions depends on the activators' expectations associated with the effects of the actions undertaken. Interactions and evaluation of the relative effects is a process that takes time, this being more or less long according to the nature of the interactions considered. Moreover, the interaction effects are far from being all simultaneous, at variance with the detected interactions, which, as to each particular configuration, are instead surveyed or assessed with reference to the same unit of time. The activator's evaluation of the quality of their interaction effects may either confirm or disappoint the respective expectations. In both cases, the feedback from the interaction destinations may prime either tentative or irreversible, but not necessarily immediate, adjustments or major modifications to subsequent interactions. The energies of your organizational ecosystem are simply flows of information which can take the form of ideas, instructions, insights, interpretations, investigations, ideals, introspections, or more information-based producing things. These information flows evolve through the intentional interactions of your ecosystem's activators, employees, stakeholder communities, and leaders. In a word, your leadership power apps are the applications of your skills, talents, abilities, strengths, and insights that you use to impact or affect the features, factors, or forces of your organization. As a leader, you are responsible for making inroads into analyzing problems and finding possibilities, producing improvements and increases, or shaping and creating new innovations. Leaders structure their own social spaces and power app systems to handle and deal with the environmental factors that affect or impact their organizations. The areas and arenas of social space include the physical, psychological, spiritual, social, emotional, and creative features of space-time. In a word, every human operates in one or more of these spatial areas at any given point on the timeline. The key objective, then, of effective leadership is to help employees and all leaders use the relevant information or practical flows of information-based energies that they need to excel as they operate and compete in any given spatial arena. Wise leaders use space-enriching templates, systematic processes, and proven structural systems to achieve their desired results. This ends today's lesson. And what you're looking at this moment in time is the catalog of materials, training, and coaching support services, which are featured in my Leadership Power Paradigms Producer Tools program. You can see that this program is designed to dramatically improve your leadership performances and use your leadership strengths to comprehensively empower the achievements of your people. Right now, this program is available to you at my lowest possible price, so I urge you to visit the webpage at www.one-im.com/LPP-tools. That's the big red letters there, right in the middle of the slide, in the middle of your screen. Or you can click on the Enroll and Get Started Now button that you see on the right side of your screen. And when you click on that Enroll and Get Started Now button on the right side of your screen, it will open up a brand new web browser tab or web browser window. And that way you won't lose us and we won't lose you. And then you can read what's on that page when you're finished watching the rest of this webinar. And if you like what you read on that page, just go ahead and get going now, because you should not forget that I always offer my famous no questions asked, no risk to you, money back guarantee for this program. So you really have nothing to lose by enrolling now in this awesome educational program, because I assume all the risks. Okay. And as you're clicking on that Enroll and Get Started Now button, or opening up a new window there so that you can type in this www.one-im.com/LPP-tools. Either way, while you're doing that, I am going to run back over to our control panel. And in our control panel, that's where we can send you the links to all of the two bonus gifts that we have for you. Here's the first one. The first one is the 5 leadership uplifter tasks. It's an infographic. It fits on one sheet of paper. It's in PDF format, so that's not a problem either. I would suggest that you download it, and then you just print it out, since it is one sheet of paper, and put that sheet of paper either on your desk or on a wall or something, so that you can refer to it as you go throughout performing your leadership tasks and duties. And you will find that if you're performing one or more of those tasks every time you act as a leader, that your performances will be very, very, very good. And if you are not performing one or more of those tasks, then you're probably not going to find that your leadership is all that effective, by the way. And then the second gift that we have for you is the Words with Wisdom paper. It is 8 pages. It also is a PDF document. So again, I would encourage you to download that one too. And some people like to read PDFs on their computer screens, or when it's on a screen of some sort. Other people prefer to print it out, and since it is only 8 pages long, print it out and read through it as you have an opportunity and stuff. And you'll find that in the Words with Wisdom paper that I talk about a few of the strategies and principles and tips and techniques that I mentioned in this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms, as well as in previous episodes of Leadership Power Paradigms. So those are our 2 bonus gifts for attending the live or the webinar replay. Both of them, you'll see this anyway if you're on the webinar replay. And as you're doing that, I'm going to run back over. I want to just do one more thing here. If you're on the webinar replay, you also have the added advantage of being able to send me any of your questions or your comments. I just encourage you to type in any question or comment that you might have, and then press the Email Us button. And when you do that, I'm going to receive three things. Firstly, I'm going to receive the name and the email address that you use to register for the webinar replay or for the live session. So you don't have to include that in your question box. As well as the question that you have typed out or the comment that you've typed out. I'll get that automatically, and I respond to all the questions and comments. And sometimes I even try to suggest that you and I have a brief conversation if I think that I can give you more of an answer to your question or comment. So don't be too surprised if I have that type of suggestion in my answer to you, but I will answer your question. I will respond to your comment. So, all right, great. I'm looking at the live audience here, and let's see, I'm not seeing any questions or comments coming through. So what I will say to you all is I'm glad that you were able to join this episode of Leadership Power Paradigms. This is Bill Thomas. I've been your host and presenter for today's episode. God bless each and every one of you. Godspeed to you all, and I wish you all the very best of success in all of your leadership endeavors. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in future episodes.